Welcome, survivors, seekers, and thrivers. I'm your host, Shari Lee Roberts, psychic medium, energy healer, and living proof that you can transform your pain into power. Each episode, we dive into trauma healing, developing your intuitive gifts, and reclaiming your life. Get ready for real stories, deep wisdom, and a little laughter along the way.
Today's conversation couldn't be more relevant or timely. This isn't about politics, though it is about resilience of the human spirit. My guest, Syed, was born in a small town in northern Iran called Motel 2. He lived
Yeah.
there from 1974 until he went off to school for higher education in America. Today, we'll be talking about his journey through a wonderful young childhood, then war, progression, surveillance, exile, profound loss before he finally was able to get out of it, come to America, and became an American citizen. You'll want to hunker down, get your favorite drink, and listen to his story open-minded and authentically. Welcome, Syed. Thank you for being here. Before we get into this, how are you? And how is your family in Iran?
Hello, Sherry. First of all, I want to say thank you for inviting me to your program and to talking about my journey and my published book, In Search of Rain from Motorol to Pittsburgh. Uh, I am good, and personally, I'm good, and I'm working as usual. And however, I'm concerned about my country and the situation which happening
Yeah.
since
Yeah.
not now after the revolution in 1979 we fell in the hell, something we had. I uh, you know Iran was a great country. Iran was a we had a good economy, we had happiness, we had freedom before Islamic revolution, and but after 1979 everything changed in Iran, and people fell in the jail, something like jail called oppression. And now, several years, several times, people protesting to get their freedom back, they get their happiness, and but they couldn't. And whenever people protesting, the government shut down the internet and killed many people in the street. Last month, about I have to say that more than tens of thousands of people died uh, in the street, and the government answered to protest. Is nothing, just kill them with a ballot. And now American and other Western countries, and with the help of Israel, and they are attacking to Iran. And actually, I want to let you know that we have to separate Iranian Iranian people and Iran with the IRGC and the government, Islamic government in Iran. So uh, we know that this attack happening not for people. They attack to IRGC sites, and I hope people doesn't affect too much by this war. And I hope they will get their freedom back. And I don't have any news about my family because there is no internet now. We don't have any call internet. I don't have, but people, I see the news, people all around the world, the Iranian people are happy. They came to a street and they expressed their happiness. And with this situation, after this current war, it's happening in Iran, people are happy. People are happy. I hope my family also are happy. And I hope we will get our freedom back very soon.
Yes. Here comes back to your childhood. What was a Reagan like your family, your community? What was happening?
Uh, uh, Mosulghu, first of all, I have to say that Mosulghu is a small city close to the Caspian Sea in the north of Iran. And we had a big family. We were living with my grandfather and with my uncles. They were living close to us. And we were 9 siblings. I was the oldest son in the family. Our family business was agriculture. We had a rice farm close to our house. Also, my father had a liquor store in Mosulghu. Has a liquor store, and this was the only liquor store in the city.
Oh,
And yes, Mosulghu,
liquor.
yes,
Okay.
liquor store. And
Yeah.
Mosulghu was a touristic city in my. It was a newly established city with the movie theater, with the casino, with the clubs, and many people from other cities around Iran. They used to come to weekend and summer to my city, and we were living with my family and with our tribes in the Mosulghu, but we was one of the oldest family who living in the Mosulghu. And my grandfather was a famous person in our city and a respectful person. And my father unfortunately, my father was addicted to drug, to heroin. And
Oh,
yes, and my mother couldn't read any single word. She was illiterate. And my mother used to arguing and sometimes fighting with my father because of his addiction.
yeah.
And my father, when came home, he became mad and started to fighting with my mother, and sometimes beat us. And
Uh-oh.
one night, I remember one night, my mother arguing because my father came very late to home, and my mother argued with he. She didn't want to open the door, and but my father was a strong man, and he opened the door, and he grabbed his gun. He grabbed his gun, want to kill my mother, and we children jump on my mother and ask my father, "Don't kill my mother." You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
thankfully, my grandfather came and grabbed the gun from my father, and the story finished. However, I was sad. I was sad about what
Yeah.
and my father
Yeah.
doing, and he was a strong man. He was a strong man, and he was down in his drug. He was down in his drug, singing around, and he didn't pay attention much to us children. Even I never remember that my father pet me or never shake a hand
Oh,
with me. Yes.
oh,
So he used to go to hunting. He had a gun and he used to go to the hunting, and his hobby was hunting. And he has a motorbike. He has a big motorbike, and he used to spend time with his friend, and uh, so he didn't pay much attention to family. So I was worried about this situation, and I had no interest to going to a school. I had no interest to going to a school, and my because no one take care of my schools, and my math score always was I failed math exam, and I couldn't pass the exams, and in the first grade of middle school I failed. I rejected from a school. I rejected from a school, and so but one day it was before New Year Eve. The school called me. The schoolmaster called me, and they gave me envelope as a New Year gift. And I opened the envelope, and I understand that they considered me as a poor student because I was working in the farm, and I was after farm I going to schools, and uh, they considered me as a poor student. So they gave me a gift, and this gift became a trigger for me to studying and to following the advice of my grandfather. My grandfather used to say to me that say you have to be scientist, you have to be scientist. But he passed away when I was 9 years old. Also, and this gift became trigger for me to follow the advice of my grandfather to continue my studies. And after that, after the in the middle school, after the second grade of middle school, I started to studying and to make a better future for myself. And also, I want to let you know that life before Islamic Revolution in 1979, I heard from my family, my father, and my people who talk about that situation. People were happy. People had freedom. People had good economy. We had a king and queen, and they did a lot of job in Iran. They was working for people and for prosperity of the country, and people were happy. And but after Islamic Revolution, everything changed. And
yeah.
I remember I remember many things changed in our city, especially in my city, which was a touristic hub in the Iran. It was a small city, but during the revolution, they destroyed our city with the hammer, with the with the truck. They destroyed the monument. They destroyed our casino during the revolution. They destroyed the clubs, and everything changed. Even they destroyed. There was an amusement park for children who going there to play. They destroyed that. After that we had no safe place to play. So we used to go to the beach and maybe go to the forest, because Mosulghu from one side was the beach, from other side is the mountainous area. So full of forest and rice farm and oranges farm. So we used to, there was no safe place for us children to play there. So we used to go to the beach and we used to go to the forest. And two times I was close to be die, two times. One time I went to the beach because I was not familiar. I was 7 years old at that time. I was not familiar with the swimming. And however, thankfully, someone saved my life in the after sinking in the sea. And one time I went to the forest and I fell down from the trees. I was lucky I didn't die.
Yeah.
So two, three
Yeah.
times I was close to be die. So thankfully, I'm still alive and I continue my studies. I remember for after middle school, I went to high school to enroll to the higher school, but there was no higher school to accepting me to continue my studies, because I want to studies in the experimental science. When I went to for enrollment in the higher school, the schoolmaster didn't want to enroll me. He said, Sayed, your score is very low, because my math score was very, during the elementary school, it was not good. My science was not good. And when I went to higher school to follow my studies in experimental science, no higher school accepting me. Actually, there was higher school in other cities, and I moved to my another cities which called Kalardash, and I was living with my grandfather for 2-3 years to finish my higher school. And I was a little far away from my family. And once a week, I used to go to Mosulghu to visit my family, and then go to Kalardash, which is 1 hour away from Mosulghu. And I was living with my aunts and my uncles, with my grandpa, and to continue my higher school. Finally, I finished my schools with all hardship. I finished my schools, and then I applied for the university, which is another story. Yeah.
About that, and what was happening around you? What was life like at that time as you were going on to university?
You know, after diploma, after I finished my high school, because I believed my ability. I believed to myself. I believed. I remember I was talking with one of my friends, school friends, and he asked me, what you want to do after your high school. I said, I want to continue my studies to be doctor. And then I want to travel to abroad to continue my studies in another developed country. He was laughing. He was laughing. He said, you was very lucky to finish your high school. Do you think to become a doctor and scientist is easy that you can do? Do you want to be? No, you cannot be. He was laughing. I was laughing. He said, no, you cannot, because it's hard. If it was easy, everybody could go and become a doctor and scientist and go abroad. Because, you know, in my country, we have a national university entrance exam, which is a big barrier. So in this exam, based on your score, you can choose your major in university. So it's not up to you to continue whatever you want. So at that time, I wanted to be doctor, to be physician, but my score was very low for a public university, and I couldn't get accepted attended to any public school. So I tried my chance for the private university. That was also the private university, which called Azad, Islamic Azad University. I tried my chance for that university. Again, my score was low. So I became accepted for laboratory science as a technician for associate degree for the college. I accepted at the beginning, I didn't want to go there because it was not my mood to be a laboratory technician, medical laboratory technician. It was not in my mood. However, I talked with one of my school teachers, and he said, laboratory is the heart of the university, heart of the hospitals. So if you go there, you can help the people. So with this aim, I became motivated to continue my studies in laboratory science. And the city which I accepted, it was 2-3 hours away from Mosulgou. It was called Babol city, which was the north of Iran. It was 2-3 hours away from Mosulgou, and it was private university, and I had to pay to university. So I had another concern, which how we have to provide this tuition for university. So we were forced to sail every semester for enrolling in the university. Every semester we were forced to sail our rice crop. So our farm was not too big. So we were forced to sail our rice, which we collected from our farms, so sail it to provide my tuition, university tuition. And again, I went to the university. I had a stay in because I rent a room. I rent a room in Babol, and my mother used to give me some money, which usually was from my younger brother. My younger brother, and just I want to let you know that I was the only one who went to university in my families. My other brother and sister, they failed. They couldn't. They quit the school during the elementary and yes, during the elementary and middle school. And my younger brother, my mother, after he couldn't continue the studies. My mother sent him to car repair shop. And he hadn't any salary. He used to receive the tip from customer. So every week, my mother used to give this tip to me to go to continue my studies in Babol. So when I smelled the money, it was smelling like a grease, like a gasoline. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
this hardship made me more stronger to finish to study more and finish my associate degree. And I was the top student in my class in the Islamic Azad University. And I
Wow.
finished my studies uh, faster than other students. I got more courses during the summer, and during the summer, I was able to finish my 2 years of the associate degree faster than other students. Other students they spent 5 semesters, but I spent 4 semesters. I finished faster than other students, and then uh, I had no choice to go to military service because I was 20 years old, and it was obligation for uh, boys in Iran after 18 years they have to go to military service. But I was a little lucky because after training, 2 months training, I went to work in the hospitals because I had associate degree in the medical laboratory science. So I was working in the health clinic for 2 years.
Uh-huh.
As
Uh-huh.
I was lucky. I was lucky, and I had a little salary, so it was good. I could spend to could buy some clothes, some I could pay. I could put my hands in my pocket. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
During the my military service, I was working in the health clinic, and they pay me. I received some salary, and it was not hard for me. I actually the only problem was because I was far away from my family in military service. The city which I was there, it was 4 6 hour away from my hometown.
Wow.
For in the health clinic, I was working in the health clinic, and but I had a chance to studying to continue my studies in higher level of university. And also, I want to let you know that during my military service, I was doing some artworks as well. I think I have some picture. I don't know if you can see that. I brought this is my book, In Search of Rain from Motul to Pittsburgh. And I brought my stories, some stories. This is my artwork. This is you can. This is a lady who is drinking and dancing. I made it with the woods. This I made
Wow.
during my military service, which I was working.
Beautiful. Mm-hmm.
Yes, I made it with the woods. I used to do some artwork, and another challenge which it was affected my life. I was during my college. I became affected to vitiligo, which is a skin disease,
Oh,
and
yes.
yes, and this affected my life and tried to destroy my beauty. And I went to doctor several times, but I didn't get any result. I just changed the medication, but it doesn't work. And then I started I didn't want to think much about my disease. So I was trying to do artworks and go exercise to running to forget about my skin problems. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Mm.
that's why when I went to military service, I rent a room. I rent a room close to the health clinic, and I used to studying and also doing the artwork to don't think much about my skin problem. So thankfully, after 2 years of military service, I became accepted in a public university in Tehran for continue my studies as a bachelor. And then I moved to Tehran to continue my studies for bachelor in medical laboratory science. Yes.
Oh, okay. From there, how did you end up going to the US?
I came to US in the end of 2012. It was 2012. I came to US, and at that time I was a PhD student. During my PhD, after finish my bachelor, I want to let you know that after I moving to Tehran, I had many challenges in Tehran, and then I became hired by Tehran University.
Mhm.
After passing the exam, I became hired by Tehran University, and I started my job in Tehran University. And I was able to rent a room in Tehran and living in Tehran. And I married. I married with my cousin. I married with my cousin, and then after 1 year, I became accepted to Tehran University to continue my studies as a master science. And at that time, my economic situation was not good. And after 3 years of living with my cousin, we separated. We separated because my economy was not good and my cousin left me. And after finishing my master in Tehran University, I married with one of my colleagues, which we currently live together with one of my colleagues. And then I became accepted PhD as a PhD student in another university which was far away from Tehran. And in that university, in that level of PhD, I had opportunity to go for 6 months, for 1 year, to continue my studies as a sabbatical in another university abroad, to learn some technique about my thesis.
Mhm.
And that's why, yes, I applied for that. It was the end of 2012. So November, I came to United States and to continue my sabbatical as a sabbatical student, opportunity studies. And in that time, I came, it was not easy. It was because university didn't pay me fund, and I was forced to rent our house in Tehran. Because after we married with my colleague, I rent we rent a apartment, and for coming to United States, I rented my apartment to make a money, to make a money to come to United States to yes, because in during the sabbatical when I came to United States, I had no income. So also when I came to United States, I started to work in Pitt University. Someone I applied to get a sabbatical opportunity. I had two invitation letter. I received two invitation letter. One from Texas, Kansas University, and one from Pittsburgh University. And I prefer to continue my study in Pittsburgh University. And the professor who invited me, his name was Tony Plant. And I came to his lab, to work to his lab, and he helped me to be settled in United States. I had many, many challenges when I came here. And they helped us to find a room, to rent a room, to be settled in United States. I don't know, I answered to your question or no properly, but just I want to make sure I answered your question properly.
You did. How long were you here before going back to Iran? Also, what did you do once you were home?
After 1 year of living in United States, working in the lab, we came back to Iran to defend my thesis, PhD thesis. And I defend my thesis with the highest score. I received 20 out of 20.
Wow.
Yes, our score in Iran considered from 0 to 20. So I received my PhD and finished my defenses and received the highest score. So after that, I started my job in Tehran University again, because during, I told you, when I was after finishing my bachelor, I was hired by Tehran University, and I was working there until I went to continue my studies for the PhD. So after coming back from the United States, after finish my studies and defend my thesis, I came back to Tehran University to continue my job. So in that time, Iranian people protesting because of the livelihood problems and because of the bad economy, no freedom, and especially Tehran University, which was located in the center of Tehran, and all protesting started from Tehran University. And the place which we were working there, we could hear the student protesting in the street of the university, in the campus. We were hear them, and the Iranian people from time to time protesting to get back their right, to get back their freedom. And the economic situation was not good at that time. When I was working, I started working to Tehran University. So I learned, I started to teach what I learned in the United States to a student. So I started to make some workshop to teach a student about whole exome sequencing, which I learned in the United States in Professor Plant lab. And I teaching to a student, and I had 2-3 workshops. And I remember many students coming to the workshop and enrolled. And I think I was the first person who teach whole exome sequencing in Tehran University. Before that, I can't remember anybody so used to teach a student. And another workshop which I had for a student was drawing schematic pictures for the papers. So, you know, when a student, the scientists want to publish a paper, they have to draw schematic pictures about their science, about their discovery, about, and I learned some bit with the help of one of the smart students, and which they were working with me, and we learned some illustrator, and we teach to a student to draw the schematic picture for their paper. And even I draw some picture and publish some paper in ISI journals. So I was close to be, I was trying to become a faculty member in Tehran University.
Oh.
I started with a molecular medicine department where I graduated. You know, my PhD was molecular medicine. So after I started to work in Tehran University, I was working in a school called New Advanced Technology in Medicine, a School of Advanced Technology in Medicine. And I was employed there. I was employee, and before this school was a newly established school in Iran, and we had different major like molecular medicine, biotechnology, nanotechnology, and so I was working to establish this school for 5 years when I was working in Tehran University. I helped my boss and my mentors to establish this school in Tehran University for the first time. And I became the first employee of this school as well in Tehran. And after that, I became accepted to molecular medicine, and I went to another city to finish my studies for 5 years. And after I came to United States and came back to my country, I started to work in a School of Advanced Technology Medicine, which I was working for that. And I had some student, and I teaching the student with workshops. I had a good time. However, the economy in Iran was not good. And my wife didn't want to live in Iran. and she used to cry. She used to cry and ask me, Sayed, go abroad, go living United States. And then after I trying to become faculty member, I couldn't get a position. And I became frustrated of living in Iran. And so I started to,
Like, can I ask when you say the economy was not good, what do you mean?
you know, uh, even uh, university professor in Iran, they receive the fund from university. They write a project and get a student, and they are like a simple employee. It's completely different with United States.
Oh, okay, okay.
United States, yes, in the United States, professor received the fund from NIH,
Yeah.
and the fund is enough to provide the salary for a student. And each student in the United States, PhD student, they received at least $50,000 per year, which is enough,
Uh,
which is
yeah.
enough to handle their life here. Even
Yes.
they can save some money and go travel. Even a simple employee in United States
Yeah.
with 2,000, $3,000 per month, they receive the salary per month, and with this money they can handle their life. They can go to travel. They can save some money for themselves.
Yeah.
But in Iran, employees' salary is very low. For example,
Okay.
$200 per month, $200. But now
Oh,
it's still lower, maybe $100 per month they receive the salary. So with this amount of salary, you cannot do anything. Even you
no.
cannot. So when
Idiot.
so
Idiot. Yeah.
I was working in university. My wife was working in the health clinic. She
Oh,
was nurse. She was nurse. So still we had problem. We had
mhm.
problem. After many years, we were able to uh, buy a house buy an apartment in Tehran, which with not with our salary. My wife sold their family legacy because my wife had their own house. So they sold it. And she received some money. So we were able to buy a small condo, a small
Oh,
apartment in Tehran, but not with the
okay.
salary. So with the
Right.
salary which we received, we spend all salary for the mortgage, for the money which we borrowed from the bank to buy this house.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
our life was hard, our economy was not good. So
Right.
whatever we work, I used to work two places, but after morning, I had a morning job and an evening job. My wife was working in the clinic, but still we couldn't uh, save money. We couldn't.
Right.
I had no car. I wished to have a car, but I had no car. So
Mm.
when I used to go to my hometown, I used to go with the bus, with the taxi, with to go there. So and living in Iran was not safe. Was not safe. There was too many car accident, too many car accident, and the air pollution. There was a lot of air pollution in Tehran. Tehran is the most polluted city in the world, most crowded city in the world. So many people died because of the cancer every year.
Wow.
There was a tsunami, like a tsunami of the cancer in Tehran. When you want to move the street, to walk the sidewalk, someone coming and want to steal your backpack because of the livelihood problem. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There was a lot of theft. There was many theft, and it was not safe. It was not safe. Living in Iran was not safe.
Wow.
There was a lot of corruption. There was a lot of oppression, corruption, discrimination. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I was trying to be a faculty member, but there was too many corruption and discrimination and humiliation, low salary, people protesting all the time. But government answer to people was nothing but kill them with the ballot in the street. And this situation, we could not live anymore in Iran. We were lucky. I was lucky to become accepted to United States and come to here and find a new life and get a new life and get a new make a new future for myself. I was lucky, but not everybody can do that. Not everybody. We were lucky. Yes.
But Dag, with everything happening in Iran, the tax
Yeah.
taking out the regime.
Yes.
What are your hopes of what will come?
Yeah, I understand. So, after, let me start from a little, go back. After Islam revolution happened in my country, Islamic radicalism, they killed many opposition in Iran, even in the jail, after 1979. There were many leftist party who helped regime change in Iran, communists, Marxists, and they put them all in the jail and killed many of them. And maybe 6,000, 5,000, I don't know, nobody knows. Nobody knows how many opposition they killed. They put many journalists in the jail. Many journalists ran away from the country. Many people couldn't live anymore. So, and after that, you know that we had 8 years war with the Iraq because the current regime in Iran, they want to transfer their ideology and transfer their Islamic revolution to other countries, especially European country. For example, starting from Greece, go to Germany, go to Europe, England, UK, France. They want to change their regime.
Yeah.
And then United States, Canada, they want to change their regime, make an Islamic revolution. And that's why Saddam, Iraq leader, Saddam Hussein, he attacked to Iran in 1980 because supreme leader in Iran, he asked Iraqi people to protest against Saddam. And that's why Saddam attacked to Iran in that years. And we had 8 years war with the Iraq, and many millions of people became homeless. 200,000-300,000 people, young people, died in the war. And
Oh,
the Saddam used the chemical attack. Many
yeah.
people with the missile attack. We had a lot of problem for 8 years. Many people died in my country.
Yes.
Imagine what's happening in my country after Islamic Revolution. But before that, we had a good country. Iran was one of the best country in the world, one of top 10 country in the world. We had the economy, we had the best economy, best happiness, we had freedom, we had everything. But Islam radicalists, they promise to people, you should not pay for the rent, you should not pay for the gasoline, you should not pay for the car. We provide for you everything free because Iran is the richest country, one of the richest country. We had a lot of oil, we had a lot of gas, we had a lot of natural resources. One of the richest country regarding to natural resource in Iran. But the government don't use this income for the people. They send the money for other branches, Islamic branches abroad. For example, in Lebanon, Hezbollah in the Lebanon, Hashd al-Sha'bi in the Iraq. They help Houthi in the Yemen. They help Hamas in the Palestine to fighting with the Israel and then attack to the Europe. You know,
Yeah.
they don't like your freedom. They don't like European freedom. They don't like European civilization, American civilization. They don't like it. They want to change the regime, even maybe in the Greece. So every year, Iran became poor and poorer, and people became sad. People was thinking after war everything would be good, but it didn't. And every year, people protesting. The protesting started from when I was in the bachelor. When I was a bachelor student in the Tehran in 2008. Yes, we had the biggest protest called Green Protest. People protesting for the election. Even the presidential election is not real election because the government don't allow everybody to be accepted for the election. Even for that so-called election, people protesting because they believe that the government steal their vote. And that time, many people died in the street. They attacked to our dormitory. They attacked to our dormitory in Tehran. They killed many students. They killed many students in dormitory. And this is another problem. The other problem is there is no safety in Iran. Iran is not a safe place.
Yeah.
Many people dying because of the car accident. Iran is number one in the car accident in the world. The casualties and the death because of the car accident in the world. Iran is the biggest prison for the journalists. Many journalists, after getting protests, left the countries. Even many opposition went to other countries. They killed them to other in the Europe as well. Many opposition, they killed many opposition in the Europe, in the France, in the Germany, in the UK. And people who was lucky, who had family abroad, they immigrated. Some people, ordinary people, they have no choice. They have to live in this situation.
Yeah.
You have to consider how many problems in Iran, how people can live there. They cannot. But Government answer to people is nothing, just killing them when they're protesting because of the bad economy, because of the livelihood problem, because no hope, no future, and they kill them. For example, when the corona happened in Iran, the supreme leader didn't allow to bring a vaccine for people. Do you know what I'm saying? They banned to using the vaccine because they believe that the vaccine, it doesn't work. If you use the vaccine, there is something in vaccine which change your attitude, change your they. But Iran was a good country, and they promised we provide everything for you for free, and we increase your human values. And that's why people protesting, and king and queen left the country, but everything became worse. Everything became worse years by years, and people has no hope in the, and they hope get a help from other countries to change the regime in Iran because they cannot do anything. Last month they killed 36,000 people in 2 days. This is the most massacre and genocide in the current century. So they are happy. People in Iran are happy. Iranian people around the world are happy with this attack to Iran. Not the attack to Iran, the attack to IRGC, the attack to nuclear programs, the attack to other, not the people. They don't attack to people. They attack like a surgical attack. They attack to military service, which is related to IRGC, to supporting to other group in all around terrorist group, other countries. So people, I believe that people are happy, and we hope transformation happen, and people would be free of this situation.
What? Yeah. What will let forward the king and win over the people to take back their country? Do you want the monarchy back, or how will that happen?
You know, now people protesting, they want to monarchy come back to Iran.
Okay.
You know, they're protesting during the few last protests. People realize that Islamic revolution, Islamists telling lies,
Yeah.
and they don't care about the people. Anybody who protesting, they considered as an enemy. They kill them. And even they brought some soldiers from the Iraqi soldiers, from the Afghanistan, from Iraq, to kill people in Iran. Can you imagine that? And people chanting in the street, they need help. They call President Trump, please help us. America, help us. European, help us. We are fighting for your right. They are fighting for freedom. They are fighting for, it's not just the Iranian problem. This is a global problem. They chanting, they want to queen, because the king died. King died many years ago, but the king family is still alive. And the king's son called Reza Shah, Reza Pahlavi, people chanting and wanting him to come back, because now people realize that such a nice country was before revolution, such a nice king we had. Iran was a good country, and they trying to prosperity of the country, but Islamists told lies to people, and they overtaken the countries and they destroyed the countries, and we lost everything. People of Iran lost everything. They cannot do anything because they killed them in the street. So they chanting to President Trump to help them. They chanting to superpowers to help them, because this is not just only our problems.
Yes, the U.S. done enough yet to open up the monarchy and people coming in and taking back your country.
Yes, I think I hope so. The monarchy can come back to Iran, and this is not just my hope.
No,
Many people,
right.
maybe 80%, maybe more than 80%, 90% people want this uh, monarchy come back to Iran, and we starting from the back. You know what I'm saying? What we had.
Yeah.
But during these 47 years after Islamic Revolution, they destroyed our country. They changed all, even books, school books. They changed everything. They changed school books. They changed everything for their favor. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And they didn't made anything good for people. You know, nothing. Just they changed the names, and they changed the content of the books, and they killed people, and they put the journalists in the jails, and people ran away, and they did nothing. Everything that they did was worse and against the people, against our country. That's why people chanting to king and queen's son. Queen is still alive. They come back to country, and they took the government and helped to change this situation. You know, they don't want to be president, or they want to just control this situation and transfer to a democratic, secular country. They want to help people in during this transition to a secular, democratic country. They don't want to be exactly king and something like that. This up to people. They want to give the chance to people to choose what they want. They want to monarchy, they want to presidential, they want to, and during the election, during the free election, people choose what they want. But to me, more than 80% people want to monarchy, to have the king and queen which they had in before revolution. They want that government. They want that situation. They come back to that situation. But we still has a lot of things to fix, you know. During these 47 years, they destroyed everything. We have to, they pushed Iranian back to 200 years ago, maybe worse than
Oh.
that, because the king and his father, they did a lot of things in Iran. They made a lot of road, they made a lot of hospital, they made a lot of uh, uh, made a good army. But after Islamic Revolution, everything became worse and worse and worse and destroyed. So they pushed Iranian people to 200 years back. So we
Yeah.
have do a lot of things. So I hope this war make the Iranian people free, and we can start all people all around Iranian people who immigrated to other countries. They can, with different religion, with different idea, with different ideology, they can come back to Iran and live together in peace like before Islamic Revolution,
Yeah.
in freely and
Nice.
tranquility. I hope
Yeah.
this happen, and this would be a learning lesson for all other countries, especially European, especially
Yes.
American, who trying to change their countries and to become a ideologic government to control their countries. Because ideology countries, that means one mission. It doesn't matter is to be communist, it doesn't matter be Marxist, even socialist. I think socialist doesn't work. They did a lot of bad things, especially in my countries.
Yeah.
That means one vision, one way, one idea. This is
Yeah.
not good. This is not good. Nothing is better than democracy. Nothing is better than the something that in America is great. America is the great country, and I am happy to live here. And this opened my eyes to the world after coming here and see such a big difference between America and Iran. I never expected, because when I was in the Iran, they used to wash our brain. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Especially during middle school, high school. But when I went to university in Tehran, I started to think about my countries. And after some protests happening, and I became sure that Iran is not the good country, as the official say to people, Iran is the best country, Iran is the. But when I travel abroad, especially when I went to Turkey and saw a lot of difference between Turkey and Iran, even especially when I came to United States, I saw America is amazing. America is great country. America, you have welfare, you have freedom, you can do anything that you want. You can be anything that you want. After I coming here, my salary, my life became good, and I started to publish my book and write it down my memoir. It took me 10 years. 10 years. It was not easy. It was very hard
Yeah.
for someone like me who had no interest to a school, who had no interest to hope in my country. Finally, I came to United States and I spent 10 years to publish my memoir and distribute it to all around the world and talk with people and show the people, and for lightening, for lightening. My goal by publishing this book is not to be famous or make money. 10 years I isolated myself to write it down, my biography. I never use any social media. I never use any car. I don't have a car. I'm just going to university, going to for work, and coming back to home. Even in the bus, I was typing my memoir in my cell phone, and thankfully, it just became published. and I am trying to globalize it. And I want to give a hope to people who had the same challenge like me. Because I told you I had many challenges in my life. I want to give a hope to people and I am sure, I hope that people who read my country would be motivated and to be find a better future as I did. And also I want to say to democratic countries, Western countries, I want to say them to take care of your freedom, to take care of your country, cherish your democracy. Don't believe socialists, don't believe this radicalism, because I see something happening in the Europe, in the UK, in the France, in the Germany. So people immigrated, especially after changing the regime in my country. Everything changed in the Middle East. Many war happened, many people immigrated to Europe. And I want to say to European people, take care of our country, be careful. Accepting immigration is good, but you have to be careful. Don't give too much freedom to immigrants to do anything in your country. I want to say American, say thank you to American, with such a nice government, such a nice country they have. And I want to use this opportunity to say American, to take care of a country and stand with this current government, stand with this Republican government. If you like your future, if you like your freedom, if you like your life, you have to stand with this current government, with the leadership of the Trump.
Thank you for listening. If today's conversation resonated with you and you're ready to explore your own healing journey or intuitive gifts, I'd love to work with you. I offer psychic medium readings, energy healing sessions, and intuitive development guidance at shariroberts.org. And if you're not quite ready for a session, but want to be a part of the conversation in a supportive community, join my private Facebook group. The link is in the show notes. You can also connect with me on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. This is Shari Lee Roberts. Until next time, remember, you're never alone.